Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 146 of Gains, and this one is titled Hero Yin. What did you need from us, Fat Gum? You asked as you entered the bank with him and the boys. We'll need 2 by the van, 1 accompanying the people moving the money, and 1 looking out, Fat Gum said from beside you. Okay, you nodded. I'll be the one accompanying the people moving the money. Would you 3 like to decide who's going to fill the other roles? He asked. You nodded. Yes, how about Kirishima and I stand watch by the van and Bakugou, you be the one to look out since you have a good eye for spotting potential baddies, you offered. Sounds good to me, Kiri said with a smile. Yeah, Bakugou grunted. Okay, easy, he replied with a smile. We're good to go, Fat Gum. He grinned and gave you a thumbs up. I like those who get themselves sorted quickly and efficiently, he said with a nod. Mr. Fat Gum, sir, one of the bank officials called to the round male. We are ready when you are. Ah, wonderful, Fat Gum said as he turned to the man, but spoke over his shoulder back to you guys before he left. Okay, places now, we're about to do the transfer, he said. You and Kiri nodded and quickly made your way outside to the van, while Bakugou stood at the door, just on the inside of the building, and looked around out the window to see if anyone was acting suspicious. He was also checking those inside the bank as well, but no one seemed to be acting strange. Ah, you said as you took up a post on one side of the back door of the van, and Kiri took post on the other. Final day of internship. Then we're free. Oh, also, the auntie is good to go for the water park tomorrow, which will be nice. It's supposed to be good weather. Sounds like fun, Kiri said, giving you a smile. I always like spending time with you and Kat. Yeah, it's always a good time when it's us 3, isn't it? You mused. He nodded, and you looked up towards the door of the bank to see what Bakugou was doing. He was looking out the window and appeared to be very interested in someone, or something, down the road, just staring at it, so you looked in that direction too. Further down the street you could see a guy just standing there, leaning up against the lamppost, but his beady eyes were on you guys as you guarded the back of the truck. You turned to Kiri to address him, knowing that the guy in question was well out of earshot and wouldn't be able to hear what you were saying. Hey, you said softly to Kiri. Kat has locked onto someone. He's currently down the road, leaning against the lamppost, but don't... You're about to say, don't look now, but Kiri was already looking to see who it was that you were talking about. Oh, yes. He does look suspicious, doesn't he? Staring us down like that, Kiri said. You groaned and then chuckled. Oh, I was about to say, don't look now, you'll make it look obvious, but never mind. You chuckled. Then you looked towards Bakugou to catch his eye. He was looking at you now, and you nodded to him, and he nodded back, the 2 of you signalling that you had seen this guy and were now going to keep an eye on him. There was another 5 minutes before Fat Gum came out, and you looked towards him and the guards walking with the vault of money on a wheel tray, and stepped out of the way for them to access the back door of the van. But in that time frame, you had forgotten about the suspicious guy until Bakugou came out and grabbed your arm. You're 6, he whispered gruffly in your ear. You turned and glanced behind you, and sure enough, the suspicious guy was making a move and was walking down the street parallel to where you were standing with the van. E, you addressed your red-headed boyfriend, and he looked over. We've got unwanted company. Keep an eye out for any accomplices. Okay, he said, and then he started searching the streets for any other potential threats. Do we go to him? You asked Bakugou, as the guy walked past the van and continued on down the street, but appeared to be sizing something up. Yeah, Bakugou grunted. Wait, I'll tell Fat Gum, you said, turning to the hero who hadn't noticed you and Bakugou were on edge. Sir, there's a guy hanging around and we're not sure if we should intervene. But just then the entire vehicle was suddenly covered in a net of some kind, and the net was then tightened and the vehicle dragged down the street, with all the money and armoured guards inside. You, Bakugou, Kiri and Fat Gum all managed to jump out of the way and not get caught in the net, but now the chase was on. He's got an accomplice on a motorbike, you called, seeing the suspicious guy on the back of a motorbike now, his bulky arm outstretched with the net coming from his fingers. Bakugou, you shouted, almost like a Pokemon master sending out their Pokemon for battle. Go after him! You didn't need to tell him twice, since he had already started to use his explosions to propel himself, and was now after the guy. You started running too, not really knowing how that was going to help, but the adrenaline in your veins was propelling you to do so. It was while you were running that someone else on a motorbike came screaming up beside you and slowed to your running speed. Hey, hero, jump on! A female voice called from inside her helmet. I'll catch you up! You nodded, and, mid-run, jumped onto the back of her motorbike and wrapped your arms around her waist. Go! You yelled, and she did go, almost pulling the front wheel of the bike off the ground as she gunned it down the street. You quickly looked back over your shoulder and saw the guard car was now in pursuit, with Kiri and Fat Gum inside, and so you looked back to the front again to see how Bakugo was faring. He had caught up now, and had tackled the guy off the back of the bike. You noticed, as the guy was forcefully removed, that the motorbike had been reinforced, most possibly quirk-related to the guy driving it, and had a lot of power, which is how it was able to pull the van down the road so quickly. With Bakugo now on top of the guy who had netted the armoured van, you yelled to your sudden aide to go after the guy on the motorbike. "Okay," she shouted back and sped up, going around Bakugo and the net guy and chasing down the guy on the runaway motorbike. The motorbike rider looked back over his shoulder and saw you giving chase and twisted the accelerator on the handlebar, speeding up to try and escape, but your rider was very good and was keeping up easily and now gaining ground. If I could just touch his bike, I might be able to make enough kinetic energy to shut it down or cause a spark, you thought, as your rider got you closer and closer to his bike. Unbeknownst to you, in the guard car behind, Fat Gum had jumped out of the car at speed to help Bakugo, and Kiri had insisted that he go after you, so the guard car was almost catching up behind you, ready to offer assistance should you need it. Do we need assistance? You'll have to wait and see. Chapter 147 coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.